It's game week. Game week. Game week. Oregon Ducks. Oregon Ducks. We're here at John Toppitz Park in Coos Bay. Beautiful setting as usual. Out walking my dog, the sidekick, the game week sidekick, Bodacious Bodie. We're usually on a dog walk when I'm doing these. Today, it's a happy day. We beat BYU again. How long has it been? 32 years. They come to Autzen. Same results. Not a good idea. No wonder we had to pay them a lot of money to come. And now it's game week. Now it's WSU. There's a little bit to talk about with BYU. Put a little damper on it. I said don't mess with the Mormons. Students need to tune into this more. You need to listen. Students don't tune into game week enough. That's why those problems happen. You need to get people, tell people, subscribe, like, get this algorithm going so they can watch game week. I was very explicit last week. I knew you were going to do it. I knew you'd get drunk, and I knew you'd mess with the Mormons. Now it's all over. We may lose a quarterback recruit. Out of Salem. Probably not that big a deal, but you just gotta listen to game week. BYU, I mean, it's a big, they're talking about, stop talking about it. It's over. It's done. We're on to the next game. Pretty good weekend for me betting. I told you not to listen to me last week because that's kind of how it goes with me. When you don't listen to what I say. I was 100% last week. Oklahoma, USC, Oregon, Washington State. Everybody covered. Everybody covered. I wish I had had a 6-game parlay. I didn't. Oh well, I wanted some money. I got a little parlay on Oregon and USC and Oregon because I need to start betting more, but I'm not in Vegas. They don't have all the games I want. I have to go to the casinos, and I'm not going to be in Coos Bay much longer. This is my last day in Coos Bay. I love Coos Bay. It's a beautiful place. My brother lives there. Taking a big break, but things are booking up fast for October. We're going to be back on the road. We're going to be all over the place. Game week's going everywhere next month. We're going to be Lebanon, Oregon. We're going to probably be down in Portland, warming up to go to the big Las Vegas. That's where I'll be a lot this winter. Las Vegas, Phoenix, possibly Tucson. We're going to be up in Bisbee. It's going to be an exciting game week month. Hopefully the Ducks are just going to be winning. But as you know, in game week, we talk about two things mainly. We have two main topics. The Duck did a lot of push-ups. He was very dominant, yada, yada. You've heard it before. The Duck is dominant. We all know that. We know the Duck's dominant. And then we talk about past games that this week I like to think about, bring you back some nostalgia. I like to talk about what Oregon football was like once in the past, and WSU just happens to have been my very first Duck game. I was around 9 years old. I barely knew the rules to football. My brother and his friend, who's also like my brother, grew up around them both. My brother, who I'm actually staying with here in Coos Bay right now, visiting, break, whatever. That's why I look like this. That's what I look like when I'm on break. Look at that. Look at that lake. It's so beautiful here in Oregon. First game, WSU game. At the time, I lived on Mill Street, which is right there down on campus. For those of you not familiar with Oregon, there's a tradition at Oregon. It's still going on, I imagine, where people park somewhere else and then they walk across the footbridge over the beautiful Willamette River to the game with the band, with the students. My brother and his friend were basically student age, like 19, 20. He's a lot older than me. And they had a friend that was also a student at the U of O. We all went. We had tickets. They bought tickets. Had my ticket, and we went to the WSU game. And at the time, I believe it was Reggie Ogburn was the option quarterback. We had a few running backs. We were not great in the Pac-12. There was a few teams we'd win, maybe going 4-6, 4-7. It was not like it is today. It was a long time ago. I'm very old. And we went to the game, walked across the bridge, did the whole thing. They were probably drinking. I don't know. Not very responsible, to be honest, because they sent me off to the concessions at some point, or I went to go to the bathroom. I may have given me money for a hot dog and a Coke, but they didn't go with me. And back then, the concessions were in the end zone. There wasn't a big stadium. There were two concessions in both end zones and a bathroom. And I found my way to the bathroom. I think I found my way to the concessions. I bought a hot dog, and then I kind of walked up the wrong side. I didn't walk towards... They had went into the student section, okay? And I kind of knew which way to go. There's a lot of people in the concessions. Again, I'm 9. And I showed my ticket. And the guy told me to go up here. Go up there, go to this section. And I did, and I followed directions. And I ended up in a completely empty... reserved seating area right beside the end zone, right outside the end zone, basically directly across from the student section. What I didn't know is my brother and his friend and their friend from Oregon that was going to U of O had snuck into the student section. They just, back then there was a little Boy Scout. You just walked by them pretty much. Student section was kind of full and rowdy, and they wanted to be down in the student section so they could do student section things. Not chant malicious things at Mormons, but other student section things. We weren't that into it back then, to be honest with you. So I find my way down into the reserved seating. It's empty. I can sit anywhere. Autzen Stadium's maybe half full. We're playing WSU, and I know we won. We won that game. Reggie Ogburn made some options, and we had some running plays, and I didn't know much about football. I can't really give you a breakdown of the game. Reggie Ogburn, you look it up. He's an old option quarterback that played for Rich Brooks. The defense played pretty good. Washington State was average. We were average. All right. And I know what you're wondering. Oh, no. 9-year-old lost at Autzen Stadium. Is he ever going to find his way back to his brothers? Well... Good news. Autzen Stadium is almost empty. We're literally looking across. I could see them just standing there, and I waved, and then they waved at me. That's how different it was then. There was nobody at the stadium. And then it was around halftime when I got lost, quote, quote. But they could see me. We met back at the concession stand. I just walked over there and waited by the exit, and then there they came with about 30 other people coming out of the student section. Big contrast, huh? You remember last weekend what it looked like at Autzen Stadium? That would have been a big deal. Actually, I think what they did is they just came up to that section. That's right. I was walking down the little slope, and then they just walked around and found me where I was, because we could see each other again right across from. It was a different time, people. It's a different time. We didn't get all worked up. We didn't freak out about the quarterbacks. We didn't, after 1 or 2 bad plays. Oh my God, Duck fans, stop it. Ty Thompson threw it a little hard once, and the dude should have caught it, but he didn't, and he got an interception. It didn't matter. He looked good last week. He'll look good again. He's a decent, what if Bo goes down? Bo's looking great. Bo's looking really good. Next week he's going to throw an interception or something, and you're all going to be like, bench Bo. Can Lanning even coach? Me. Jiminies. I'm not doing comedy. I got to remember not to swear. I'm trying to keep this clean for the kids. Listen to that geese flying over. It's a beautiful a beautiful thing. I'm so happy when the Ducks win. I love it when the Ducks win. It's much easier to do this podcast. Now I gotta tell you about another time we played WSU, and it's another win. It was a blowout win. We destroyed them at OSU. It was the only time I went down to Pullman. We drove down there with two of my friends. We decided we were going to do it. One of my friends was all psyched about it. We're going down there. It was the Akili Smith year. And if you know, you remember, Akili Smith tore it up in college. He was drafted number 2 or 3 because of his great performance in college. He might have had a few issues in the pros once they paid him, and maybe he didn't pan out. Okay, maybe it didn't pan out, but he was a great college quarterback. He was a great quarterback, and excuse me, geese and a dog is walking by, so I don't know how to pause this. If I did, anyway, we'll get back to it. So we're heading to WSU. It's a long drive. It's a long drive to Pullman. We got there just in time, do a little tailgating, get ready. It's a really nice, fun atmosphere. Pullman fans were decent. We were kind of schmucks. We got in right as the game was starting, and we just walked over. There was some seats kind of right in the student section, or right by the student section, and we were pretty much at the 50. It was really easy. We sneak. I'm a comedian, okay? I do stuff like that. I sneak into seating. I'm sorry. I'm not a perfect person. We didn't want to sit in the end zone. Anyway, Oregon just, boom, touchdown. Akili Smith, 50-yard touchdown. Boom, another touchdown. Every time, standing in this a sea of WSU, me and my 2 friends, we stood up and we politely clapped. Politely gave them a little clap, and then sat down. Now the people behind us, particularly this woman, were very loudly talking about us, but we ignored it. You know, they were saying things, maybe rude things. We didn't care. We were absolutely crushing them. Every boom, touchdown, boom, touchdown. They didn't score in the first half, I don't think. Maybe 3. It was the Christians versus the Lions and the Gladiator, and we just stood up and politely clapped and then sat back down. And we went out at halftime, thought better of it, and went over to the end zone where the Duck fans were, so we could cheer the rest of the game with the Duck fans. LSU scored a couple times. It got a little tight, kind of like that last game, just for a second, and we blew them out. Great victory. Went back to the car. Tailgate a little more. I took a nap because I was driving. I took a nap. My other 2 friends they were happy. And then we started to drive home. And one of my friends, I forget his name actually. It was Neil and somebody else. But he was sitting shotgun, and his job was to make sure I didn't fall asleep. And he just kept nodding off. And then he'd wake up every minute or 2 and go, Are you okay? Are you awake? And I was like, I'm not nodding off. You're nodding off. And it went like that pretty much from the Dalles to Eugene. Like, after I took a small nap because I knew I was driving, I was high psyched up because we just had this big win. I didn't have any problem keeping awake. He, though, every 2 or 3 minutes would nod off, and then he'd wake up thinking that I was nodding off and go, Are you gonna? Very annoying. Very annoying. Literally every 2 or 3 minutes. Are you awake? Are you okay? Which, I mean, it kept me awake. I didn't have any problem falling asleep. I drank some caffeine, I think, some Cokes and whatever. That was the other WS. Those are the only 2 games I got. I don't have a lot. WSU doesn't really excite me. They've had a lot of success against us lately. I'm looking for that. I'm looking for another game like that last one. I had it on my trap game. There's one factor we got to consider. Oregon just came off of a big upset victory at home against the 12th ranked team. Now they're going to play a team that has a history of playing well at home, that just had a tune-up game. Does that sound familiar? We're BYU here. We're BYU. This is a trap game. I'm putting this out. Dan, I hope Dan's watching this. Make sure your players know. Good news is we didn't have a tight overtime battle, and we're getting some players back. Time to tune up some more. Let's make it like the first game I explained at Autzen was a tight, tough game. We won. Let's make it like that second game at Pullman, where it's just a lot of standing and clapping and showing off our offense and shutting them down on defense and marching on to the next game. Because it was a long time ago when Akili Smith played, and we haven't been that successful at Pullman. Let's bring it back. It's an afternoon game. Let's have a game like that game. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping for. I want to talk about one more thing. Scott Frost. Scott Frost. Apparently, Scott Frost was showing up late for practice, was hungover, was hogging the golf simulator, had complaints from the golf team because he was bringing his friends into the golf simulator. And all I have to say is, well done, Scott. Well done, my man. I mean, kudos to you. As a comic, if I had the opportunity to get drunk, mess with my employers, play video games, show up late, take my friends golfing, and make an extra $7.5 million by getting fired in time, well done, Scott Frost. Kudos, my man. That is... I mein, I wish I wasn't holding this phone so I could do one of my little WSU claps. That is just impressive. And I wish there was a way you could do a little sketch. Have somebody playing Scott Frost when he knows after that first game, he's getting fired. And all they have to do is wait till October. And they don't have to pay him $7.5 million. What am I doing? What am I doing? I am drinking a lot. I am not showering. I'm coming into work to yell at my assistant coaches, and then I'm going back to the locker room to take a nap. I mean, I am making sure that they have to fire me before I corrupt any more of their players with my bad example. Because 7 points, that's some good work if you can get it. Getting drunk and slouching off on your job for $7.5 million is a dream come true to a comic. That is my fantasy. That is like, he'll be an announcer soon. He'll get some money. No, it's not over for Scott Frost. Kudos. Big ups. This has been game week. We got a really big one. Start a Pac-12 season. Washington State at Pullman. The trap game. Will we be ready? Will we? I'm feeling really good. These coaches are... I've always loved the coaches. I've never had a problem with the coaches. I think that first game was really hard. It was a really, really hard situation for Dan. It's over. It's done. Nobody got hurt. It's time for Pac-12. It's a tough Pac-12 season. And I know last week I said something. I said I don't see this as a playoff team. But I was factoring in a weak Pac-12. I'm still thinking it's going to be a really, really tough ride. I'm hoping for a Pac-12 championship game. But now, the thing is, the Pac-12 is going to cannibalize itself this year. We're not going to have a playoff team. They're not going to have a playoff team in the Pac-12. They're going to cannibalize themselves. Everybody's going to have 1 or 2 losses. we can get to the championship. If we can run this table with the much, much stronger than anticipated Pac-12 with Oregon State, Washington, USC, UCLA, maybe Arizona's a lot better this year. If we can get through this season without a loss, we might get our ass kicked against Georgia again. and that would be quite some honor. I'm sorry. I'm a Duck fan, but I'm not stupid. Anyway, this has been Game Week. Game Week!